Who's your favorite male rock singer?
Ooh, that's a good question. I do love David Lee Roth. James Mercer from the Shins is probably my favorite because
that's interesting.
He's got a really high range.
And do you know he did that album with
Danger Mouse.
Yes.
Yeah.
Broken Bells?
Yes, Broken Bells.
And they're like highly polished Shins songs. It's not just about Mercer's voice though. He knows how to do a melody that is so the only person I can think who could do that as well would be like Michael Stipe in the original in the early days of REM.
Yes.
You know, it was just a little dip or a little turn, you know.
Yeah.
But David Lee Roth is a different singer, but a majestic, like anything that comes out of his mouth is like.
But I love those performative.
Yeah.
No, he and I'm glad to see David Lee Roth back on stage. You have to get back on the
He has turned into a skinny old Jew. He's just like walking around. Hey, what's going on? Yeah. It seems like he might have done some drugs.
He's high on life, man. So Van Halen.
But can I tell you something about
Yes.
David Lee Roth? I believe that if you image searched him, you would never find him with a woman.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
in anything. Like
Wow.
like he might be in a group of girls like being a picture taken with fans. But in terms of like the way you'd see Tommy Lee with Pamela Anderson
Yeah,
or
even Keanu Reeves and his wife. Like,
you have never seen David Lee Roth on a date or in anything. And I don't know what that means. I'm not saying he's a homosexual. I'm saying
maybe he's either asexual or he has a harem.
Yes,
like an active harem.
He's like it's an underground network of sex bots.
He's just got a lair.
Yeah.
Where they don't do drugs. They do a lot of stretches so he can keep those hips limber. All right, you have to go do the 5. Thank you for doing this.
That's always fun. See, that just moves so quickly.
Yeah.
You're just a dream.
I'm so
You're a
good right now.
dream but I could talk to you about music. You know what we should do? So they want me to do a podcast. We should do a music podcast. Do you think that gets a limited number of people?
because I think there's so many people watching who love music as much as they love news.
So we should do a music podcast. I've been like my manager Eric has been talking to me. You love music, you write. I used to write about it. I did all this and it's fun. And I buy new music every week, you know? Here, I'll show you before I leave. I'll show you some good that I got.
I can't wait.
Yeah, that's a picture of me. That's a picture of me. All right.
I just got Steely Dan Asia on vinyl.
I almost bought that, but it was like $50. Okay. There's this woman called Carmen Villain. Ambient, I would say ambient jazz, but crazy, packy man.
Yep.
You would love.
Yep.
It's a dub electronica. Smurs. Oh, you want to hear Smurs?
Yes.
All right. Okay. This song is amazing. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this.
I hope we can play it. Great beat.
Yeah.
Great bass line.
Mm-hmm. Here we go.
Are those bagpipes? It's like Sleigh Bells meets Portishead.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I like that.
But I do. It's like so mellow.
That's great.
Yeah.
And what's it called? Smurs? How do you
Smurs.
spell it?
I think they're from are they New Zealand or are they Finland? They're somewhere over there.
Okay.
But I got
Somewhere
a lot of
weird that most people haven't been to, but probably.
Cole Pulley's Lands End Eternal is great. Nice. Anthony Naples, Griffin Rue, who's a producer in New York. I try to buy like 5 or 6 things a week.
Nicely done.
Yeah.
Do you like vinyl? Do you like listening to music?
Yes, I buy equal parts vinyl, equal parts digital. Digital when I sleep, vinyl in the day.
Oh, beautifully done.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
then when in the romantic times, I do nothing but cassettes.
8 tracks, I have.
Yeah, 8 tracks.
All right, thank you, Greg.
Well, thank you.
It's Greg Gutfeld.
I'm on my way. I'm in such pain. It's gonna get better.
It will.
That's what the more you know would say.
Yeah.
It gets better.
I see you, Greg. Bye. Hey, it's Kennedy. You've been asking for longer episodes of Kennedy Saves the World, and baby, now you're gonna get it, because we recorded our live 4th of July special at Langan's in New York City, featuring special guests, Fox 5 New York's Rosanna Scotto, Dr. Drew Pinsky, Emily Compagno, and Jimmy Failla. The full episode will be available Wednesday, July 2nd. Listen and follow at foxnewspodcast.com. And it was like on day 2 or 3 of his presidency, and people were relieved and delighted because they felt that the punishment was unjust. And so I got to meet him and, say, hey, I'm happy that you were pardoned. I asked him if it was a full unconditional pardon. He said, yes, it was. I asked him if he was going to kick up Silk Road again. He said, absolutely not. And looked at me like, why would you ask that? And then someone else was like, why would you ask him that? That's so rude. Why wouldn't you just ask him about fartsinajar.com? And so he's getting ready to go on stage. And I was like, listen, Jimmy Failla and I were both big fans, and we came up with this idea because we were having a conversation with these two guys. We lied about our professions. I said I saw farts in a jar. The guy pulled Jimmy aside and said, where could I buy one of them farts? And Jimmy said fartsinajar.com, and I said, so the tour manager created the URL.
He did.
And so Ross is like laughing and listening the whole time. And the tour manager leans in and goes, by the way, we hear you're really good with tech, and we need an IT guy for fartsinajar.com. He was like, are you in? And at that moment, someone was absolutely horrified and intervened and got in between us and was so embarrassed and terrified that Ross was going to be so offended that he wasn't going to take the stage because I had the gall to ask him about fartsinajar.com.
But do you know what he's probably thinking about right now? fartsinajar.com. So I'll tell you why.
He goes on stage.
And
he gives this incredible, moving speech, brings the entire house to tears. So he pauses for a moment. He becomes emotional. There are tears in his eyes when he's talking about the people that he met in prison and the conditions that they have to live under. So, I thought that our interaction was going to be a distraction. He gave the speech of a lifetime.
He was locked in.
It was unbelievable. And then, I shook his hand afterwards, said, so nice to meet you and your wife, Caroline. Absolutely beautiful. He was incarcerated for 11 years.
Yep.
He messaged me yesterday and said, I'm so excited for fartsinajar.com.
Yes,
and I was like, the worst thing you can do is treat someone like that, like a tiny, sickly baby hamster.
No.
I said, the most dignity you can give someone is to let them in on the joke.
Yes, punch them in the person.
Yes.
Okay. It's not equality when you're putting someone off in a corner like an infantilized lesser than.
Yes. So he was sentenced to 2 lifetimes in prison. And he served 11 years. And he is a redeemed human being.
Is he ever?
I can tell you that after talking to him and, asking him some very honest questions. And he was very honest. And, it's obviously we have turned a corner with fartsinajar.com. And it's all because of Ross Ulbricht. And he's a visionary.
Can I just listen? Half the people watching this.
Do you know what he said? He goes, you know what the key is? And I was like, what? He's like, you got to screw the lid on as soon as you possibly can.
You do. Yeah, you do. He's already thinking packaging.
Yeah.
This is a real thing.
Yeah.
And anyone who thinks this is some type of flippant joke that you and I would tell, and it might have started that way, but there is absolutely mega dollar potential here.
Yeah. My niece came over last night. She has some ideas for merch.
Yeah.
And she pulled me aside and said, you're going to retire on the fartsinajar.com.
So good. If Sydney Sweeney is selling her bath bubbles, okay, why wouldn't anyone sell it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, Sydney Sweeney's already selling you farts in a tub. I mean, she is, for all intents and purposes. She has a glass of champagne, lets those hooties out, and probably lets it go. You're already buying farts in a tub. Why wouldn't you want them in ours are more distilled. Ours are more distilled. You're just getting a fart. You don't have to compete with the soap or anything.
She even says droplet. So it could be 1 droplet, maybe, per soap bar.
By the way, of all the tapings of this podcast for me to be wearing a suit in, we're on our way to meet with corporate about this idea.
Yeah, we're so overdressed.
We're going on. First there was Shark Tank, now there's Shard Tank. We're going on Shark Tank.
And with that, we must leave you. Post Father's Day. I hope you're basking in the bliss. This has been Kennedy Saves the World along with Jimmy Failla. I'm Kennedy. Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.
Oh, go ahead and leave me a review while you're there. I'd love to hear what you have to say. You've been listening to Kennedy Saves the World on the Fox News Podcast Network.